to Stash Chats. My name is Yvette and I am the co-founder of the sewing organizer app StashHub. And every week I have the pleasure of talking to a different member of the sewing community about their sewing journey, what they're up to in the community, and of course their sewing stash. So it's really exciting to get a little peek behind the scenes into some of our favorite content creators and sewing businesses. So do check out the playlist if you haven't seen all the episodes of StashHub already. In terms of StashHub news, there is a new update of StashHub that I haven't made any content about yet. You can go to the App Store and update your StashHub. And there's a new feature, which is a CSV export. So you can export the data from your StashHub, which is really good if you want to kind of do your own analysis on it for some few extra stats. So let us know if you try that out and what you think, and there'll be more info coming soon about that. Thank you to everyone who's joining the live chat. We'll say hi to you guys in a minute. And I thought we'd do something a bit different today. So instead of saying where you're joining from, say in the chat what your favorite Sew Over It pattern is, because we are going to be joined by Rosie, who is the CEO of Sew Over It in today's episode of Stash Chats. So the other StashHub news I wanted to tell you about was Doug's already started working on integrating Magic Mockup, which is our new feature where you can visualize your sewing project. So he started integrating that into the StashHub app already. So hopefully that will be coming soon. And it is a new month very soon as well, which means there will be a new sewing challenges roundup from me and in the StashHub app. So I'm actually hosting a challenge myself in June, which is a So Fruity challenge, hence my very fruity dress that I think the camera has decided to blur out. So yeah, head over to Blossom Sandwich, which is my personal account on Instagram, if you want to join in a fruity sewing challenge, which is always really fun. So let's say hello to Natalie, who's joined in the chat, whose favorite Sew Over It pattern is the Winona jumpsuit, which I was considering as saying as my favorite as well. It's a really good one. My So-Called Life, hello Donna, hello Mandy. I love so many Sew Over It patterns. They were my first patterns via Simply Sewing magazine. Faves are Carrie Trousers, Ultimate T-shirt, Zadie blouse, and currently making an Amy. That's a lot of favorites you've got there, Mandy. And we've got hello to Linda as well. Let us know if you've got a favorite pattern, Linda. I love the Amelia jacket. Brilliant. So yeah, I'm sure loads of you guys will know Rosie and know Sew Over It. It is an incredible indie sewing pattern company. They've got literally hundreds of patterns. So even if you're familiar with their repertoire, do go and check out their website, because I'm sure there's loads of patterns that you might have missed or overlooked. So yeah, there's also a discount for StashHub Plus subscribers for Sew Over It patterns. So don't snooze on that as well. And Rosie has taken over as CEO of Sew Over It from the founder Lisa Comfort a few years ago, and is carrying on the Sew Over It vision and bringing you loads of new patterns all the time as well. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. Donna loves all the patterns, can't choose a favorite. That's brilliant. So yeah, let's get Rosie on and think about if you've got any questions that you want to ask Rosie about herself or Sew Over It, and you can pop them in the chat. Good evening to Cheryl. Love the heather dress and also the penny dress. Yeah, that is a classic. Right, let's get Rosie on and find out more about Rosie. Hi, Rosie.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining us on Stash Chat tonight.
Thanks for having me. This is very nice.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So, yeah, do you want to just kick us off with a little bit of background into your sewing journey?
Absolutely. Yes. I was thinking about this today. And I think, like you said, I've always sewn. I remember sewing as a very little girl, helping my mum out. And we had one of the old Singer machines with the handle. So I'd turn the handle, she'd do the sewing. And I feel like that's my earliest memory. And I definitely made little clothes for Barbies as well. I've got a Barbie that's got like a gingham two-piece, which I was really pleased to see when I got it out. It's somewhere in my flat that I've actually pattern matched.
Oh,
on the
wow.
trousers. It's like, yes, probably more effort than I put into it now. I definitely dabbled in sewing a lot when I was younger and really enjoyed doing that. And it's like a lot of kind of hobbies or things when you're younger, they kind of fall by the wayside as you're off, I don't know, off school, university, having fun, doing different things.
With the singer, were you like a very diligent handle cranker, or were you tempted to go like really fast and see how fast you could make it go?
I think I was probably the very studious, diligent, like very sort of steady speed. This is serious work. Makes me sound like a very exciting child, but I think I was the person that was like, no, this needs to be good. Like
living for the efficiency, the precision.
So yeah, it was definitely. I definitely wasn't like making much at all when I was little, but I remember doing it as like a hobby with my mum, or like we're a crafty family, definitely, and my mum's very crafty and still does a lot of crafts. So that was obviously in me, I think, from the start. But then I started dressmaking properly. It's probably about, what are we now, 2025? It must be about sort of 12 or 13 years ago now. And I was actually studying for a PhD. So I kind of initially in my life went the academic route. And I was at Aberystwyth University studying for a PhD in geography. So it's very quite sciencey, very like lab based. And parts of it I really loved, and parts of it I really, really struggled with. And I thought, I'm going to try and get through this, but do you know what? I'm going to give myself a hobby. I'm going to do something creative on the side. Because also, I mean, I loved Aberystwyth, but it's a quiet place of a weekend. You kind of need a hobby to get you through sometimes. So I actually started quilting, and I hand sewed a big patchwork quilt, which is still on my bed to this day. And I also managed to get my sister to come with me to the Festival of Quilts. Is it called the Festival of Quilts? The one in Birmingham.
The Birmingham one, yeah. So what drew you to quilting initially? Was it that you wanted a quilt, or that it just seemed the most accessible way into getting back into sewing?
I think a bit of both, actually. Yeah, I thought I really, and I still really quite like big, slow projects. Like I really have got into knitting now. I like something to do. Do you know, it's something that legitimizes like how much telly you can watch in an evening. Something you can
feel productive still.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm still doing something. Look how wonderful I am, but actually I'm binge watching some awful program. And yeah, I really liked the idea of having this big slow project that I'd chip away at. And I think my mum got me like a bundle of fabric for Christmas, and that became my quilt. And I think it took me almost 2 years, just really slowly doing like little hexagons quilts.
So did you hand sew it, the like paper piecing method?
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. So English paper piecing, hand sewed the entire top, and then properly machine basted it together, bound it all, big double. So it's really big, and I think I'll probably have it forever, which is lovely. But yeah, on the back of that, I was like, oh, I'm really into quilts. Let's dive into this Festival of Quilts. Took my sister with me, who's a creative, but she isn't a sewer. We were kind of looking around, and she was like, why don't you make a dress? Like, just do that, just make some clothes. And she challenged me to do that. And of course, when your sister challenges you to do something, you're going to have to do it.
Got to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, yeah, of course I can do that. So I went there's a great haberdashery in Aberystwyth called Haberdashery, which I saw actually Tanya from the Welsh Frock Tales.
Who did Welsh Frock Tales? Yeah, I spoke to her a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, she will know it well. And I went in there, and Jane, the owner at the time, because I'd been in a few times with all the quilting stuff, we got to chatting, and she helped me pick out some fabric and a pattern. It was a McCall's like faux wrap. I got some really basic cotton poplin, just plain navy, the sort of stuff that, you know, it's fine, but it's not actually that nice to wear. That now I know I'd be like, oh, maybe not that one. But I made something. I don't think I made any alterations or anything like that, but it, you know, I could put it on and it fitted enough to be kind of inspiration enough to make me want to make something else and make it a little bit better. And I think I wore it to the dentist, I want to say, and the dentist said, "Oh, I like your dress." And then that was it for me. Then I was like, "Oh my,
boom, making hundreds of these."
Yeah, exactly. I am in. And yeah, from then on, I really got into, I think I quite quickly got into the indie sewing pattern world and made a lot of by hand London patterns to start off. And because I think quite a lot of people, when they start off sewing, you immediately, or I did at least, you immediately go to these more like vintagey, dressy silhouettes that you maybe don't get in the shops, and being like, oh, I can wear this and I can be a bit different. So yeah, I went down that route, and a lot of collect patterns as well.
And I think as well, the sort of vintagey vibe was very much like the sewing community, sort of like 10ish years ago. That was like the big trends that was happening at the time.
Yeah, massively. Like a vintagey silhouette, and maybe quite a bold, even like a quilting cotton type fabric with a funny print on, or something that's just so far away from ready to wear that made you just go, yeah, I did this. So yeah, I was very, very much in that crowd, and it starts you off really well with that sort of idea of like, oh my goodness, I can make anything now. And it definitely, yeah, spurred me on in that sense. And then I didn't end up finishing my PhD in the end. I just decided, you know what, cut your losses. This isn't for me. It's not doing me any good being here. So I went back home, moved back in with my mum for a bit, and I did some work in some museums. And our local museum at home is a silk museum. So I volunteered there, and that was very, very on brand for me to work in a silk museum. And it's got like old working silk looms that we could go and mess around on. So that kind of stayed in my mind. But I was mostly looking for jobs in museums, in sort of, I've always liked sort of teaching and learning, but not schools, more like outreach and kind of community teaching and things like that. And then actually I'll tell you this, a job came up at Sew Over It, and I didn't get it.
So did you interview for it?
I interviewed for it, and I didn't, I think mostly because there was someone in London who could start immediately, and I was living in the north, and it would have taken me a little while to move down, to find somewhere to live, blah, 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 blah. So I didn't get it. But then I ended up getting a job at Guthrie and Garney. So I worked there for a little bit, and then Lisa emailed me and said, this other person didn't work out. Do you still want the job? And I'd actually been to uni in London. So I had friends here. I already had a base here. So living in London made sense to me more than living in Birmingham did, where I literally didn't know anyone. So unfortunately, I did leave Guthrie and Garney after a very short time, but I feel like it worked out for everybody.
Did you like teach classes and similar sort of stuff at Guthrie and Garney, or were you kind of more like on the shop floor?
I was I don't even think I was on the shop floor. I was very much behind the scenes. I did like a lot of website stuff, a lot of inventory stuff. So more of the shop. It wasn't management. It was more sort of managing the stock and managing the back of house, really, when it was smaller than it is now. But obviously met quite a lot of people there, and met Layla, who teaches there, and we've also had teach with us as well. So it was a really nice foundation for kind of getting into the sewing community as it is, kind of as we know it. But I was only there, I think I was there for maybe 3 months, and then moved to London and started at Sew Over It, and that was 2016, I think. So coming up to 10 years. Yeah, it'll be 10 years in January coming up, which seems bonkers to me.
Amazing. So how would you rate your like sewing skills when you first started at Sew Over It?
Ooh. I think I'm quite lucky in that it seems sewing makes sense to me. It seems natural. So I think from the start, I didn't struggle, not in a kind of, oh, I'm amazing way. It's just, I feel like that's where my skills go. Like I could wake up, I could sew. So I'd say I was like confident beginner to intermediate when I first started there. And then I think, but that would have been me being like solely self-taught. But then one of the bonuses was that obviously if there was this was at the point where we had 2 shops and we had classes every evening and all weekends. If there was ever a space left on a class, you could go on the class. So I immediately went on all of the classes that I could to make all of the things and to be like taught all those little tips that you don't pick up just from sewing by yourself on the weekend. So that definitely upped my game a lot. And I did a couple of classes on drafting your own block and things like that then got my head into gear a bit more about pattern making and pattern hacking, which is now sort of my favorite thing to do, really. So yeah, my skills have grown massively since then, but I think it's a little bit being taught and mostly just doing it over and over again.
And just being like surrounded by it all the time as well, and just absorbing so much from everyone around you.
Exactly that. Yeah. So sort of very early on, I wasn't involved with the pattern design as such. I'd be involved at the other end once we were kind of properly putting it into production. But I might maybe be in the back of the room when Lisa and Julie, our pattern cutter, were talking about different things and just be like, oh, I'm just gonna listen in to, oh, what's that word balance? Okay, balance means this or that, and just try and soak up as much as possible. And I think that's what's so nice about working in a team of sewing people and just being around, being in the community, is like you say, you just soak up so much from other people, even if they're not making the same thing as you or their fitting issues might be different. Just soaking up the way people approach things is you getting so much, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And also just like when you know so many like other sewists, you can just say, oh, I'm working on this, but I don't know, it doesn't really make sense, like the collar doesn't fit or whatever. Someone else might say, oh yeah, I found that, and you've got to, I don't know, do this method and it's much easier, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just like a really helpful bunch, I think, and just want everyone to sort of do well and enjoy what they're doing. That is the main purpose of all of this, I think, is that you just want everyone to feel like they're wearing nice things and have a nice time when you're sewing something up. Like it's not anything bigger than that in a way.
Yeah, amazing. So then the transition of kind of taking over the running of Sew Over It, how did that come about?
That was, yeah, so that happened officially the kind of summer towards the end of 2023. So what are we, 25? So coming up to 2 years now. And prior to that, so Lisa and we worked very, very closely for most of the time I was at Sew Over It, really, because she went on maternity leave maybe a year into me starting there, and then that's when I kind of took on more responsibility. So we were chatting about lots of stuff, and she kind of decided that it was time for her to move to pastures new, to kind of, because she always had, she's still got this love for Sew Over It, but the passion or the need to do something different was there for her, and for her it was time to move on. And I 100%, obviously I got something great out of it, but I do think for both of us it was such a great decision, seeing how much she loves doing her flower farming now. But we had thought, there's all these sort of businessy chats about selling a business and who you're going to sell it to and what you do if it's going to be the end of a business or not. and we thought about selling to people like Hobbycraft or bigger institutions, but then there's a fear that maybe they would just take the patterns and get rid of the team. It's, even though we're saying it's such a lovely community, there's a business side of it which also could be quite cutthroat in that sense. And some of the people that were helping us with it talked to Lisa and said, look, I think, is money the most important thing to you, or what's the most important thing to you in this scenario when you're selling a business? And she was like, well, no, the most important thing is that Sober It continues. And they were like, well, is there anyone that would take it off your hands that would continue it and would carry on with it? And she was like, yeah, I think so, maybe. And then she sat down and talked to me about it, and all I really remember is saying, it's not a no, it's definitely not a no, I need to think about it, but it's not like, oh my god, absolutely not, that's terrifying. So I had a good long think about it, and obviously in the end I said yes.
That must have been quite a sort of mix of emotions, really, because obviously you must have been like very like proud of yourself that Lisa was like, I think you're the person, but also it's quite frightening, like I can't let the team down, and or like there's just so much to think about, isn't it? And like, oh, is this going to be a sort of financial risk for me, and will I be able to keep up the values of the company that are already there, and just so much going on.
Absolutely, yeah, there's so many levels to it. Like you say, I was so flattered that she had that faith in me, but there are so many risks. My dad actually ran a company, and when I was speaking to my mum about it, she was worried because she knew the stress of running a business, and she was kind of warning me about that. But then there's the risks, there's the whatever it is that you've all the things you've got to weigh up, and it's weighing up keeping this place going, keeping the team that we've got. We're all in this wonderful position to have jobs that we really love, and keeping that going is so important. And also I feel like so lucky to have found a job even in the beginning that I loved, to then be able to take control of that job and continue it in a direction I want to go in is just like, it's scary, but it is a bit of a dream, really. And like you say, financially, it's definitely a risk, and it's definitely quite scary. Anyone that's sort of freelance or sort of in that sort of world, you'll know yourself, it is nerve-wracking sometimes, and it's scary thinking that your decisions sort of can have such an impact.
Yeah, and also like the thing, like, because obviously Lisa was very like active and very much sort of part of the personality and the branding of So Over It. So like, did you have any kind of self-doubt, like what if So Over It is Lisa Comfort and then I take it over and we're like not the same? Like, that would be so sad.
Yeah, at 100%. Yeah, because I mean, even like a couple of years prior to us thinking about selling, we'd already tried to de-Lisa it a little bit. But I mean, even now, she's just so present, and as she should be. But it was really scary, I think, especially because she's such a natural on social media. She's instantly on Instagram, and that's her kind of natural state of being. She's happy to do that. Whereas for me, it's an effort. I have to go, I'm going to take that picture, or I am going to, I'll try and write it down to make sure I do. I think Me Made May is the most I've been on Instagram in a long time. So yeah, that side of things, that kind of social presence was, I think, one of the biggest hurdles for me, and still is. I still find it, like I say, it's like a task that I do, but the more I do it, the more I enjoy it, because the more there is interaction with other people, and you get to know other people, and people sort of, it is a lovely side to it. But that's definitely something that was quite scary, and like you say, having sort of such big shoes to fill was very, very daunting.
But now, so it's been like, almost a couple of years now. So are you like obviously you've had to make some like quite big decisions, like going forwards, like to sort of discontinue the paper patterns, I think was one of the big decisions. Was that quite early on when you took over?
That was very early on, but actually, no, you've said it. They're actually coming back.
Are they coming back?
I know.
You've done a new big decision over the top. Exactly. That's exciting news.
Yeah, we've managed to. That came about sort of behind the scenes gossip. That came about because our printer went bust, and we had 1,000,001 things going on, and we thought, you know what? For now, let's just cut that and concentrate on every other thing we're doing. And it's just taken us a little while, but now we found a way to get them back up and running again. So very, very soon, we will have some back. But yeah, it's that thing of thinking that your decision is the final decision is very scary. And it takes a little while, I think, to have a strength and faith in that. And also kind of the side of thinking that actually some of my decisions will be different to how Lisa will have done things. And that's okay, because that's who we are now. And sort of personally, because me and Lisa are obviously friends and we know each other well, and I very much admire what she's built here and the way she does things. It's sometimes quite hard to sort of step away and say, no, actually it has to be Rosie, so over it now, otherwise it's not gonna, will be at odds all the time, or my decision making won't be kind of true to myself, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think maybe at least the first 6 months to a year really was being a bit torn between what I want to do or what I think is right, and thinking, well, what would Lisa do, or what have I been taught in the terms of the way this business runs, to now being a bit more like having a bit more faith and saying, no, this is the decision and this is the way we're going. And I think actually the reception we've had has kind of reflected that. Is there was all sort of a little bit of a wobbly patch, and I think it matched with like a wobbly patch in everything that's going on with the world as well, and things are a little bit more stable for a lot of us now, and that's also coincided, I think, with me being a bit more true to being like, no, this is what we are now, and it's just a transition, I guess.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we're sort of coming out the other side of now.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So we've got a question from Linda in the chat about pattern releases. So Linda says, do you schedule a set number of patterns to release each year, or is it more of an organic choice, or is it influenced by trends and seasons?
Ooh, so we definitely schedule a set number. So we know this year that they're saying that. Do I know? I think there'll be 6 brand new patterns. But there's always, I mean, with us, there's always something here, something there, something on Stitch School. And we are definitely influenced by the trends, but we also are getting them ready quite ahead of time. So it's kind of half looking forward, trying to predict what those trends are going to be. But also, I think a lot of Sew Over It's patterns, what we like to kind of have is longevity. And we're maybe not as sort of bang on trend led as some other pattern companies, but we know our patterns are classics and they are going to be worn no matter what the trends are. So in that sense, we're not following the trends sort of to a T. We just hopefully have those little elements in that might catch people's eye at the right time, but also in a year's time, 2 years' time, they'll still be like, oh, that's a nice shirt, I'll have that. So yeah, we schedule in the amount, and then it's the designs that maybe kind of fluctuate a little bit. We tend to do them in batches of 3. So we've actually photographed almost all of them for the year now, apart from one big project.
So is that just to make it easier, like in terms of like get all the photos done at once, get all the grading done at once, like the different stages of the process?
Yeah, it's massively just for kind of how to work in the best possible way, and financial as well, just getting it all done. So we had people having to wear, in our photo shoot we had about 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, we had people having to wear tights for a winter dress, and it was so hot and sticky, and you're trying to be like, oh yay, I promise I'm really wintry in this dress. And
so cozy.
Yeah, I've done it in winter as well, when we're like, I'm really sorry, but you're gonna have to have your arms out and no tights on. Try and look warm, please.
That's fun. So we had this question. I'm just going to check what the actual wording of the question is, but I think it links quite well to what we've just been talking about. So Mandy Moo Makes says, would you have started your own pattern company if taking over at Sew Over It hadn't ever kind of been an option?
I don't know. I really wonder what would have happened had the sale gone through and kind of Sew Over It not been the place for me anymore. I think I did have that something in me that wanted to do more. I don't know whether I would have started my own company. I had already thought about doing something. I got really into embroidery at one point, and I'd thought about doing like little embroidery PDF patterns, but something that small scale. I honestly can't say actually whether I would have done.
It's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really tricky, because I don't want to big myself up and be like, oh yes, I definitely would have done this, was like the dream for me or whatever. I mean, it is a dream, but it's also the sort of thing where we're such a team, and I think anyone in any type of company will say the same, is that I do so many parts of the work at Sew Over It, but so does everyone else. And to start that off on my own, knowing how much work goes into it, I think that's probably what of the struggle would have been. Being very, if maybe I had no idea about it, I might have been more gung-ho and been like, yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes going into these things completely green is like a better way to start, isn't it? Otherwise you just think, no, this is too much.
Yeah, absolutely. We were saying that in the office with sewing as well, that there's things that we made when we first started sewing that we'd never attempt now, with like, I don't know, using a chiffon with a really hard pattern. Now we'd be like, actually, no, I know that's hard, so I'm not going to do that. Whereas when it's the same principle when you've got no knowledge, just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so, like beginners are so brave. Yeah. I've spoken to people who are, I'm like, oh, what was your first project? And they were like, my wedding dress. And you're just like, okay.
And they're still there going, yeah, but I don't think I can sew. And I'm like, you've made this. You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
You already made the hardest thing you'll ever need to make. So everything here from here on is easy.
That's it. Exactly.
Let's just see what the other. Yeah, so the other question also links on very well from Country Gal Laura. What do you wish you'd known when you first started sewing?
What do I think I've known? I think, I'm not sure. I think, like you say, I was that beginner that was very gung-ho, and I've never found anything about sewing sort of scary. I think maybe I'd wish I'd sort of discovered the community earlier and realized that it was this huge thing, and I wasn't just this little kind of person on their own in Wales sat by themselves, that actually it was an enormous community. I think maybe I just wish I'd known that was there earlier, and that it was an option to do all these things that we do. And I think that sort of, or a lot of people that sort of my family and friends that don't sew, people still don't get how huge this community is, and still treat it like such a niche. Whereas to me, it doesn't feel like that. It's like, no, it's huge. There's loads of us. It's really normal, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing that like really convinces non-sewing people that sewing actually is a big deal is like when Sewing Bee gets a BBC One prime time slot in the week. You're just like, see, people love this.
That's it. We've made it. We're going
they're gonna kick us to BBC Two now probably, and we'll be like, oh,
yeah, no, it's
demoted.
Do we know when it's coming back yet? Has it been announced?
No, it's not. Still not been announced officially, but usually they only like officially announce it like a week or 2 weeks before. It's like really last minute. Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of speculation, like maybe it's going to go in the Race Around the World slot or something like that. But yeah, we don't know.
Soon.
What does Kate say? I love watching the team videos of makes, etc. on YouTube. You all have your individual styles. Do you find you're inspired by each other to get out of your style comfort zones?
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't want to give her a big head, but I would credit Alma a lot with both how much I sew now, because she is prolific. And I don't know what spurred me on, whether I got jealous about how much she was making.
And especially now Alma's got her YouTube channel as well, and you can see it all in real time. She's like, oh yeah, I don't have much time to sew this week. Anyway, here's the 3 things I've made and my new socks.
No, she by far makes more than any of the rest of us. But I think to choose fabrics that are a bit more maybe out of my comfort zone, or I see especially sort of her and Chloe wearing brighter things. And I mean, I like my black and white. I like it, but it's made me a bit more ambitious in what I make, definitely. And Jemima also makes really good practical stuff. And she has had this t-shirt that she goes out walking in that I've been jealous of for so much. So I think we all inspire each other, and especially because like you say, Sew Over It has so many patterns that we kind of forget about sometimes, and then someone will come in the office and I'm like, oh my god, that one, you're wearing an Anderson blouse, I want one of those now. And we definitely all inspire each other, and I feel like we've got such a nice range of styles and sort of different things that we wear. And hopefully that's what we want to come across in the vlogs as well, is hopefully there might be some aspects of all 4 of us that you might resonate with or might see yourself in and that. So yeah, a lot of I can't remember either Alma or Chloe started off knitting, and then I definitely copied that, and now Jemima's knitting too. So that spread around like wildfire as well.
Yeah, I love that you all did that viral croissant scarf. That was so cute.
I know, and that was before Jemima was knitting, so Chloe made one for her. It was adorable.
Just so that she wouldn't be left out, so she could still match the team.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just got back from holiday in Shetland, and I've got some here, and I got them all some Shetland wool.
Oh, cute. Is the purple for Alma?
It is, yeah. How did you guess?
Has to be.
It was very easy to choose the colours in the shop.
Nice. You're just looking around like, yep, there we go. There's Alma, there's Jemima, there's Chloe, done.
Exactly. I was like, Jemima will get what I like. Chloe will have orange. Alma will have purple. Done.
Done. Oh, that's fun. Right. Linda wants to get on to chatting about the fabric stash. She says, do you have your own fabric stash? And do you get any time to sew other pattern brands as well?
I rarely get any time to sew other pattern brands. I think probably that's my own making. I feel a bit guilty if I sew something else when I'm like, oh, I could be sewing Sew Over It. And I think I just need to do it, to be honest, and say, sod Sew Over It once in a while. I'm going to sew something else. So I did buy a pattern actually this weekend from is it Elba Textiles?
Oh, Elba, yeah, LB, yeah.
LB, and they've got a tank top I saw someone wearing that I really liked. So that is going to be my first non-Sew Over It for quite a while. In terms of my stash, I'm not a huge shopper. So even when I would shop for clothes, I'd be like, I'm going in for, I don't know, a red t-shirt, go in, walk around the shop. Have they got it? Have they not? I'm out. I'm not a person that sits and enjoys shopping a lot. So when I buy fabric, it's usually because I've got something in mind.
And then you tend to like sew it sort of straight away.
Yeah, near enough. Yeah, or at least definitely have plans for it. Although I did, before I was talking to Jemima about doing this and saying, oh, I've not actually got much. And she was like, you do know you have 2 boxes in the office, do you? But I looked through, and the majority of it is decent sized scraps that I've got left over that you just find it hard to part with. But then I found 4 big pieces. And I was just saying to you before we went on live, I'm in between flats at the moment. So I have got a stash of fabric in my old flat that I'm selling that I can't remember what's in there. And hopefully there's some gems, but the fact that I can't remember means they might be ones that will be destashed, I think.
Yeah, you can just destash the lot. Just don't even look. Stick them all in a box.
Maybe I don't.
Mystery bundle.
Yeah, ask someone else to do it for me, because otherwise I'll have that big pile again. And my mum, every time I go home, my mum reminds me that I do have some fabric in her attic.
What, from like when you were a teenager, when you were back from uni and those sorts of times?
Yeah. So goodness knows what's in there.
That'll be a fun experiment to see how your style's changed over time.
Yes, it might well be a box full of sort of the quilting cottons and jazzy prints, I think, more so. But yeah, so there's definitely some, but I do tend to buy to sew, if that makes sense, rather than sort of impulse buy stuff. So yeah, the ones I've got this guy, which is a viscose, and this I love, but it's also partly sentimental because Alex, who used to work at Sew Over It when I first started, had a Libby shirt made in this, and I was also always really jealous of it. So I thought I might recreate the same thing with our Libby blouse rather. So this is a really nice floaty viscose, and it's so soft, and I can sort of almost picture her in this now. So I think that is probably what that's going to be. And then I've got a very jazzy one. No, I tell a lie. This was an impulse buy because I don't know what else to do. An impulse buy. This is I'm going to say Sew Me Sunshine. It's a jersey, so it's zigzag, glitter, metallic, and stretchy. I think this is going to be a Carly dress, another of our patterns.
Is that the one with the sort of waist tie?
Oh, that's Estelle. It would also work as Estelle. Carly's got a proper collar and a placket opens out, and then it's either long sleeves or a little sort of puffy sleeve with a band. Be very jolly, I think, festive.
Maybe for Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say high polyester count. I think it's going to be warm. It's possibly just polyester and lurex. But yeah, so this, to be fair, this was definitely an impulse buy. And then I have this gorgeousness I got in a Fabric Godmother remnant sale, but it's like 3.5 meters. And
it's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful, something. And since I've washed it, it was quite stiff and quite heavy. And since I've washed it, it's just softened so beautifully. And I did originally buy it to be our lorry dress, which is our latest pattern, which is this one up here.
Love that fabric as well.
Oh, I know, I love this. This was from Sister Mintucker from Sandy, the Stitch Festival. When I saw it in person, I was like, yes, that is the one. So it could be that. It could be our next pattern, which is coming out in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Oh, so soon.
Yeah, I know.
Like back to back with the lorry.
Yeah, it feels like it, because we used to do them once a month, and then we've slowed down, but we tend to do them quite close together over summer because obviously like they're the fun ones, the summer ones. So that one seems, there's another one coming very, very soon, and then another about a month or so afterwards as well, which the style would work well for this, but obviously not very summery, so it might work better as something a bit more wintry. But it's going to be glam, I think, whatever it is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like you need a glass of like red wine whilst you wear that fabric.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I have got I've got a summer wedding I need to go to, but I think I've got an outfit for that already. And like, it might be too fancy for the height of summer. But then, yeah, the last one I've got is this. This is the thing that I'm too scared to cut into because I absolutely love it. This was a birthday treat to myself. So me and some friends for my birthday last year went to Rye for the weekend and obviously went to Merchant and Mills. So
got to be done.
It's got to be done. They didn't, I think there's two girls that had a lovely wander around. The guy that we were with thought that I might have to buy, he was like, do you just buy a little bit or do you have to buy the whole roll? And that people were just going up to the till with a whole roll. It's like, no, I'm not going to commit to 30 meters just yet.
You're just there in the car on the way home with the whole bolt, you know, like down the middle over everyone's shoulders.
Exactly. Like that is my entire wardrobe from now on. All I'm wearing is this fabric. So yeah, this is a wool. I think it's going to be some trousers. I just haven't committed to cutting into it yet because I just want them to be beautiful. You know, I just really want them to be what they are in my head.
Yeah, got to like live up to the dream.
Exactly, and obviously, like Merchant and Mills is such nice fabric, but then it is pricey as well. So I want to do it justice.
Definitely.
So I'll get there. I'll build myself up to it. But I think, yeah, this is the one that's been sitting around for a little while. But I think, yeah, they're the only proper lengths of fabric I've got at the moment. I've just bought a couple of jerseys for that tank top, the Albert tank top, and I've bought some linen to make. I'm going to try and make the Winona jumpsuit, but as a dress.
Oh, nice.
So just, yeah, quite straight down. So same, I mean, I've got one on today, so it's straight down at the waist and then straight with a kind of slip up the front and ties behind the back. I think it could be quite nice because I always like a little bit of pattern hacking. So yeah, they're the plans so far.
Exciting. Do you tend to sew like at the office? Do you have like sewing days together?
Yeah, we try when we can. Yeah, we try to. Alma often sews at home, but if we're sewing in the office, usually we're on like Slack or WhatsApp sharing pictures, or especially in sort of sample sewing season running up to photo shoots. There'll be lots of pictures flying to and from, and I write the instructions. So probably a lot of, did you mean to say this, Rosie, or should it be this way around? Or what on earth does this sentence mean? When I've tried to like quickly write instructions for people ahead of sewing up samples. But yeah, at the moment, I'm sewing all in the office. So usually stay for a little bit after work, or occasionally come in on the weekend to do my sewing as well. It's quite nice. One, not to mess up where I'm living at the moment with all my sewing stuff, and because we've got the space to like cut out and do things like that, it's nice to use that space as well.
Yeah. Well, now you're the CEO as well. You're like, well, I'm paying for the office space. I might as well use it at my leisure.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's the kind of weird added bonus that because it's so over, it is always on my mind all the time. It doesn't feel like I'm going into work on a Saturday. It doesn't like sort of, you know, sometimes if you're not working and then you think about work, you're like, oh no, I didn't want to think about it. That's kind of all the time now, so it's fine. I'll just come into the office and spread out, turn one of the computers around, get a film on, watch something silly. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Nice. So Natalie, well, firstly, Natalie approves of your yarn choice from a fellow knitter.
Yeah, thank you.
And she says, what type of thing do you enjoy sewing the most?
Ooh, I bounce a lot from enjoying super, super quick things and really, really meaty things. And I feel like maybe everyone does. I don't know. I feel like I get stuck into a really quick project that I love, but then sometimes you do need a palette cleanser of, I don't know, a t-shirt that will take you half an hour to sew. And you can get that quick buzz of like, I've made something, I've got something new. And you kind of scratch an itch with those. But I do really love the slow sewing. I've done quite a lot of classes where I've been filming with Julie, who's a pattern cutter extraordinaire, and she's done a lot of couture work. And the things I've learned from her about sort of sewing a little bit, or not slow sewing, but taking your time over different seams, taking your time over your pressing. My pressing game has like shot right up since working more with her, and doing those projects that I think need or require that from you. That's probably what I get the most fulfillment out of, I think. And we've just got, actually we've just got these new little labels that have got made to last on them, and that's kind of our new sort of idea about what we're making at Sew Over It, is that we want to all be making some things that we like value, and that we're putting the effort in that they're going to last us. So it sort of goes in a little bit on the sustainability aspect, but also I think it's a lot about your personal pride when you're going through your wardrobe and you've got things that are still there that you made with your bare hands. Like, it's really, really satisfying. So
yeah, and especially when it's a piece and you know, like, how much work you put into it and that you're like really happy with the final outcome, then you can just be like, oh yeah, like I deserve to feel proud of this one.
Yeah, too right. I think we should all be taking much more pride in everything we're making. I think it's one of very like sewing habit. If people say, oh, I love your blouse, you'll be like, yeah, but this is wrong, or I did this wrong. And it's like, no. Like, maybe there are bits that are wrong on it. Does anyone else going to notice? No, just take pride in it. But the fact you've made something with your bare hands, I think it's great.
Yeah. And like most people would have like no idea like where to even start with making a blouse. So they would have like no idea if, like, I don't know, there's like a tiny tuck in a bit of the facing or whatever. Like, it's not something that they'd notice. And if you do like really scrutinize like ready to wear clothes, often there are mistakes in those as well. And like, because like when I first started sewing, I was sort of, you know, thinking, oh, it's not going to be as good as shop bought. But now it's like, why was I aiming for, like, you know, fast fashion levels of quality?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a weird mix of like the people that are often making things that is their job. They're very, very good at it. Also, they have a million different machines that do things a lot differently than your standard little Janome will do. And it's just, yeah, it's a whole different, there should be no comparison.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, shock that you've made something, I think.
Right, let's quickly do Melissa's question. So Melissa says, have you ever subscribed to any subscription boxes?
Ooh. Do you know what? Not any sewing ones, I don't think. I think because for the most of my sewing life, I've been part of a sewing company. I've been very, very lucky. So like until, I don't know, must have been like 5 years ago, Sew Over It had all the fabric I needed. And then I got more behind the scenes of either buying the fabric or buying stuff for samples. So I've been very lucky to have that at my doorstep, as it were. I think they're amazing. I think there's so much choice, and I feel like people can find, if they can find someone that they love their style, you know that every month or whatever, something is going to be coming through your door. It must be so exciting to get those parcels. I definitely would love that, but I think just because I am kind of almost oversubscribed to all of this sewing stuff, I don't feel the need to have any through my door at the moment. But I probably would subscribe to things that I don't, I'm not in that world of, if that makes sense.
And Melissa's other question is, what's your favorite fabric type to work with?
Oh, viscose linen, hands down my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
It's
like, so nice to wear, but it's also much better behaved than a straight up viscose to sew.
It's a win-win. It's got like a little bit of weight, a little bit of texture, but then still all the softness of viscose, and you can still get all the gorgeous prints. So yeah, as soon as it starts to warm up and all the viscose linens start coming in the shops, then yeah, that's my happy time for sure.
Mandy says, would you ever consider doing a subscription box, like a sew over it box? Because the kits seem to have flown out recently.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be probably on the kits side of things. We did back in the day do fabrics, and we did in, I think, classic Lisa style. We launched 4 different subscription boxes all at once. It was like kids cottons or kids wovens, jersey, and something else. And that was a lot of work. Like, everyone that puts together those subscription boxes, I bow down to you, because they are a huge amount of work. But yeah, I think for us, if we did anything like that now, it would be more in the kits realm, because yeah, they seem to be well received. Definitely, I think people obviously seem to sometimes want a day off from choosing the fabric. Just like, give me something pretty and nice that works together, that you don't even have to think about.
Yeah, Donna says, love your kits.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we love putting them together. It's such a nice thing to be able to choose. So usually I'll choose the fabric, and then Jemima chooses all the buttons and the haberdashery that's going to go in it. I would say that she has massively like leveled up all the packaging as well to get them looking the way they look. So yeah, there's some more have gone out today. And where are we in the month? There'll be more. There's
28th today. Yeah.
They'll do definitely. I know I've ordered fabric for, I think, 3 more kits in the next few weeks as well. So there's plenty more to come for sure.
Brilliant. Shall we quickly talk about your sew over it newness before we wrap up the chat? So obviously the Laurie dress has been out just a week now, has it?
Yes. Yeah, it does. It's one of those things, time moves so quickly that you suddenly, it was only last week it came out. Yeah, so Laurie is our newest pattern. She's a classic
picture here.
Oh, lovely, thank you. And she comes with 2 different collars. So Lena there has got the collar, sort of collar, mandarin collar, that sort of stands inwards from the neckline, and then Diana has got a flat collar that folds out on the dress, and then 2 sleeves as well. So the red one has got a little notch in it. Oh, perfect. And then you've got the little puff sleeve as well. And importantly, because we get it asked a lot, is the under wrap goes around all the way to the other side seam. So even on the windiest of days, that is going to keep you really nice and secure. And then
I really enjoyed that bit in your wrap dress battle video where you kept like flashing the under wrap, like, look, I can't show you anything.
Like, I could have tried to show you my leg, but I couldn't, because the under wrap is so good. It was so wrapped up. So yeah, she is your classic wrap dress for kind of now this spring summery time. Viscose is anything with a bit of drape, but I can definitely see tights and boots in sort of autumn going into winter as well for that. So yeah, that was our newest pattern. And then we have quickly just graded up our Libby blouse as well, up to our full size range, up to 30, and added that and our Lillian blouse to Stitch School as well. So Stitch School subscribers got another little extra boost this month as well.
Amazing. So those are like full like sew along tutorials for how to make those patterns.
Yes, so that one in particular was an ultimate guide to blouses class. So it also included, I think it was almost 15 different fitting tutorials as well. So sort of, even if you're not making those 2 blouses, then there's information in there that will help you with other blouses that you're thinking of making. But yes, you'll also get every single step for sewing them, and the patterns as well. So you can get them through the subscription, or if you're not a subscribey type person, then you can also just buy it as a one-off as well, and you'll have that forever. And there are also a million other things to subscribe to on there as well.
Yeah. Natalie says, have you got any tips for making the crossover of a wrap dress coverage higher?
Yes, I think probably on Stitch School. We have some tutorials for that. It's going to depend on your body where it's going to sit a little bit. And if you don't mind it sitting sort of across you here, then you could raise it up just at the side and raise that there. But obviously that might go across your kind of fullest point. If it's more about sort of gaping actually that you're having an issue with, then you can sort of pinch out a little bit on your pattern and pivot that into a dart, and that will keep it really nice and tight across the front there. I think with wraps, I'm a big believer in toiles, but I think with wraps, 100% do a toile, because then you can just get it fitting so snug and you don't feel at risk. So you can have the full wrap and you can be really tight across here and nothing's going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, Laurie, like tagline should be like Laurie dress, the safety wrap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Nice fit. Good
tagline.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much, Rosie. Have you got anything else you want to tell us about before we wrap up?
No, I think that's everything. I think just keep an eye out. We've got so many things happening over summer, and a very big project that we're working on for autumn, which is our next ebook, which is in the works. But yeah, just keep an eye out on what we're doing, and we're very grateful. It was so nice to chat to you today, and it was so
really interesting
about people's favourite sew over it patterns. It's really nice to just chat about that. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. We had another comment actually that I missed reading out earlier, which was the Ava skirt, one of my first successful makes by Kate. That was really nice.
That first good make always stays with you, I think.
Yeah. Well, good job if you had prior makes as well, Kate, that were not successed,ful and then you persevered until you found the Ava.
Yeah.
You stayed in the game long enough to get the bug, so that was great. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rosie, and thanks everyone who joined us in the live chat. If you missed any of this conversation, the whole episode will be up on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it. And yeah, leave us a comment if you're watching on replay as well. Let us know what you thought of this episode. And I will be back at the same time next week, 8 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm going to be talking to Eleanor, who's one of the hosts of Sophisticated, the Sewists Afternoon Tea in Surrey. So we're hearing about that event, and hopefully the tickets will be on sale by then as well. So yeah, we'll all get you tempted to come afternoon tea partying with us. And yeah, that's going to be a really fun chat next week as well. So yeah, thanks again, Rosie, and see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.